When I'm not pretending to pay attention during roughly 99% of my human interactions. I like to answer questions I get on YouTube, so let's get to it. You're kind of like the greatest human being ever. Not technically a question, I just wanted to read that one. Dude, you're a dick. And that kind of evens it out. Do you feel like you're a complete guitar player? Are there any styles you don't feel very confident in? Yeah, so by no means am I a complete guitar player. And it's kind of funny how, like, as you play an instrument for longer and as you kind of, like, know how it works and what it takes to get better, how you're kind of, like, how my ego has changed. Like, I remember after playing guitar for, like, 2 years, I thought I was, like, a pretty freaking good guitar player. And I'd be like, yeah, I'm like the man. I can play these songs. And it's like, I was such an idiot back then. And I had, like, no idea. Like, because I could play, like, Little Wing by Hendrix, like, I thought I was, like, the man. And now that I just, like, know better and I've been able to, like, wash away my ego from that thing, I'm, like, very comfortable saying that I am by no means a complete guitar player, nor will I really ever be. Like, there are so many genres and so many different things you can always be working on. And part of, like, the beauty of it is that, like, you can never be done with it. There's always, like, something cool out there that you can learn. Like, you know, I'm always, like, learning every day, and I feel like hopefully I will continue to for as long as I live. But it's just kind of funny how your perspective changes, like, the more you kind of, like, really understand something. So by no means am I a complete player. I do feel that I'm a confident player and a competent player. So the difference being that, like, I feel like if I put the time in, I feel like I have the ability to kind of do whatever I want. And, like, and so do you, really. Like, anybody can do it. It just comes down to practice. And once you get to the point where, like, you kind of see the practice that you have to put in to get to a certain level, then I think that's, like, a really, like, confidence-inspiring thing. Like, I mean, I've got a lot of weaknesses in my playing. Like, by no means can I, like, really shred for more than, like, 8 seconds. And I mean, I'm kind of okay with that. However, there's part of my soul that's always like, you need to be a better shredder. Like, what are you doing teaching guitar on YouTube if you can't shred? Like, there's a little voice in the back of my head that's always there that I just need to silence. But I think, you know, at some point eventually I might want to get more into, like, the metal kind of shred stuff. I definitely want to do kind of more exotic styles. I think flamenco is, like, a really cool thing. And classical guitar also in general is just compositionally something that I feel like I might be more interested in the long run. But again, it's not about being, like, a complete player. It's just about achieving your goals. So really, I swear to God, man, anybody. It's not about talent. It's not about skill. It's not about, like, the size of your hands or, you know, the opportunities that you have. It's all just about finding something you're passionate about on an instrument and then putting in the time to becoming good at it. Thoughts on Rob Scallon? So if you don't know Rob Scallon, he's kind of like a YouTube guitarist, and he's an absolute beast, killer player, and I love his philosophy of not down-tuning a guitar, just adding lower strings to it. I am 100% on board with that, and I think eventually at some point in my life I'll probably get like a 7 or an 8 string, just to keep up appearances, you know, because I'm not a fan of tuning down. More power to anybody who tunes down. I mean, good Lord, man, that's a commitment that I am not personally willing to make, and there's nothing I hate worse than tuning and retuning guitars. But if you haven't checked out Scallon's site, he does, like, a lot of cool covers. He does, like, a lot of really cool instrumental stuff, and sometimes he actually kind of, like, teaches and talks about stuff too. And I think he's really gifted in that area, and he just seems like a cool, humble, laid-back guy. So I will link to his channel if you've never checked it out, because he's got some cool stuff going on there. Hey Sean, what do you think of Kurt Cobain? Do you think he's overrated or not? And what do you think of their song Milk from the In Utero album? Do you think it's underrated? So the whole overrated versus underrated thing is very interesting because it really just comes down to a matter of perspective. Like, you can think somebody's good and still think they're overrated. Kind of like I was talking about Jack White, I think it was last week, and I'm a huge Jack White fan, and I think he's a great player, but I think he actually is probably technically overrated in the grand scheme of things. And I mean, it just sounds like such an insult to say somebody's overrated. But again, it's just all perspective and how somebody is kind of compared to their peers and other people in their genre and stuff like that. So I don't know, Kurt Cobain. I think he's I don't think he's underrated. I'll say that for sure. I mean, I like Nirvana. I wasn't a huge fan. I feel like I'm just young enough to, like, not totally understand the influence that Nirvana had on kind of like the rock grunge game or whatever. And when it comes to picking like a grunge team, I am forever firmly entrenched in the Soundgarden team of that era. I love Soundgarden. I'm a huge fan of theirs. Nirvana, I think they've got some cool songs. I think Kurt was like a really smart dude. I think he was a good player for sure. I've seen him on like some like top guitar player ever list. I think that's going a little too far. And not that you have to be like a virtuoso player to like be like an amazing guitar player, because I think like his writing is really fantastic. He writes like cool riffs that are catchy. They're accessible to people of any skill level. So I think Nirvana is a great band, especially if you're just kind of starting out on guitar and stuff like that too. But you know, again, I don't think he's underrated for sure, but he's definitely like a huge influence on that entire genre. So yeah, I guess I'm kind of a Nirvana fan, but always Soundgarden, 100%, and Stone Temple Pilots. I'm also a big STP fan from that era. Have you played Guitar Hero 3 or 4? If yes, which song do you like playing the most? Keep up the fun videos. You know, I haven't played Guitar Hero in a long time, but I do have kind of a rock band story, which is essentially the same thing as Guitar Hero, except you had like drums and stuff like that too. I remember all my friends had the new Rock Band game where you had like the whole unit. You had like the guitar, you had the bass, you had like a microphone and like a drum kit. And it was in Florida. It was like 110 degrees in the summer. And I had all my buddies were camped out in this garage with no AC, and they were playing Rock Band. And I just stopped by to see what was going on. And they needed like somebody to play drums to like unlock an achievement. And they're like, Sean, you play drums, like, could you do this? And if you've never played it before, playing drums on Rock Band has actual similarities to playing the instrument drums. So, you know, if you can play drums in any, you know, skill level, you can kind of play the Rock Band drums. So like, yeah, sure, I can try it out or whatever. And then, so I sit down at this like little crappy drum kit, and then like, oh, by the way, we need you to like sing too, where you have to like hit these like notes like on the right time with this microphone. So they gave me a microphone, and I didn't have a stand or anything, so I had to like pinch the microphone between my shoulders and play like the drums at the same time on this like incredible difficulty level thing that they had going on to unlock this achievement. And I swear to God, this was by far the most intense experience of my life, because like I just had to get in the total zone. Like by far, like I don't know if you'd want to call that like a musical challenge, but by far the most challenging thing I've ever had to do. I was just sweating. People were like yelling at me. I was like trying to hold everything together, and getting that achievement was probably one of the top 5 achievements of my entire life. But I have not played the Guitar Hero game since then. But not to say that like there's not value in those games. I mean, it's not like if you can play Guitar Hero, you can play guitar. But there is like a fundamental rhythmic training to those games that I'm kind of down with. I mean, a lot of people like hate on them. It's like, you're not playing like an instrument, which is kind of true. But I mean, there are things that you can learn rhythmically from those games. So, I mean, there is value to them. So for listening homework this week, I want to do a shout out to a really cool band who I don't think gets enough credit, and they're called the Family Crest. This song is in 5/4, and it's kind of like a rock group. I don't know if rock is really the right genre for it, but they're just a cool, versatile, eclectic group of musicians that made a really cool album. It's actually a couple years old, but definitely check the song out and the rest of that album if you like it. And definitely, if you have any questions or comments, hit me up here on YouTube or Instagram and Twitter, and I will talk to you soon. Thanks a lot.